Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Folsom Frenzy podcast. I'm your host, Jake, accompanied by Shreyas, Chase, and Sam, and we're excited to start a fan podcast for the Buffs. We picked the name Folsom Frenzy to pay homage to how we met. We all started the Folsom Frenzy, which was the official student section of CU football. We later changed our name to C Unit to align with the basketball student section. But we just want to jump on here, have some fun, talk about the Buffs, and just, have a good time. So with that, we're going to go around the horn and introduce ourselves. Shreyas, do you want to kick us off?
Sure thing, Jake. Thanks. My name is Shreyas, and I graduated from CU in 2012 and in 2016 with a BS and MS in mechanical engineering. Both my parents are CU grads, and I'm originally from Parker, Colorado, so I've been a CU fan for most of my life. I've been a season ticket holder for football for now 15 seasons, experiencing a lot of lows, unfortunately, but there were a few highs in there, so it keeps me coming back. So I'm currently an aerospace engineer in Denver, and it keeps me pretty busy during the day, but nevertheless, I have a lot of passion for the school and really excited to chat with you guys about CU sports.
Hi, everyone. Like Shreyas, I am a second-generation CU alum. Both my parents went there. I've had family that's gone to all the different CU campuses in some form or another. Learned the fight song when I was 3 years old. So for better or for worse, I've been a fan for a long time, like Shreyas has. Studied finance in 2019, graduating, and I'm now a Penn State law student out in Pennsylvania in Big Ten country.
All right, what's up, everyone? I'm Sam. I'm originally from Los Angeles, but now I live in Boulder, which really should have qualified me for the CU job opening, but I guess they decided to go other places. I was here for 1 year of Mike McIntyre, 1 year of Mel Tucker, and the entire Carl Durrell experience. During my undergrad, I was the vice president of Folsom Frenzy / C Unit, and now I'm pursuing my master's, mostly just to see the football team make it to and win a bowl game, just not the Alamo Bowl. No more Alamo Bowl, please.
And I'll round us out. My name is Jake. I graduated from CU back in 2018. I got to experience the entirety of the Mike McIntyre era, and I decided to stay a fifth year and get my master's in accounting just because I loved CU and Boulder so much. Back in CU, I was involved in a bunch of different clubs. I was an RA on campus. I also started Folsom Frenzy back in the day. With that, let's get excited. Let's talk about prime time. Deion Sanders named the new head coach of the University of Colorado. Guys, what were your initial reactions? What were your thoughts? We were in the coaching search, and with the hire, what are you guys' thoughts? Chase, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think so. Perspective is everything, right? I remember the searches and the flight tracking with all of the former hires that we've unfortunately got to see because of the mediocrity and just poor performance on the football field. So this one was kind of different. It was really interesting to me that I felt like CU had a quiet confidence the entire way. You would see on Reddit, you would see online that everyone thought that CU fans that thought that, Deion might come to Boulder were completely just, degenerates or completely delusional. And I think, and I don't know about everyone else's here's perspective, but it seems like, at least in my opinion, I was always fairly confident that Deion was the guy after that news started to break. I think there was a lot of interesting hires, but this is obviously, in my opinion, an absolute home run hire, if nothing else. Deion brings branding and swagger and, free advertising through social media and through, CU used to never make it even a mention on the Reddit CFP page. On Twitter, it was basically the same 10 people in an echo chamber. And so to be so relevant out of nowhere, I think CU has absolutely hit a home run. I think Rick George did a phenomenal job. I am still not convinced that we haven't robbed a bank. I have no idea where we're finding the money. But
Rick George doesn't know either.
Yeah, he did kind of say that.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a really exciting time to be a Buffs fan, and I'm curious what everyone else thinks.
Well, yeah, and it's a no lose situation for Deion as well. Like, either he turns around the worst program in college football and gets Florida State to back the Brinks truck up for him, or he doesn't do it, and people are like, oh, well, it was the worst program in football for a reason. That he's still going to get a big job after this, regardless of what he does. That's a great idea for him to come here.
Great. So I want to hear your thoughts. You've been a
Man,
CU fan.
so my initial reaction to hearing the rumors was there's no way. There's just no way. It in my head at the time, I thought that there was no way it made sense for him to leave his current situation for our situation, right? And there's a lot of nuanced factors there, right? So given that Coach Prime got into the college football business during the pandemic, during a lot of the stuff that was going on as far as like, racial equality and things of that nature. And it seemed very natural fit for him to go to an HBCU and try to turn that around and bring things, uplift that community, I should say. And the situation that he's coming into now is very different, right? Like demographically, it's very different. So I did wonder whether there was, that side of things made sense to what he's doing. But one of the big things that he hit on during his interview and basically the press conference and all of that is the fact that there is a major lack of representation of Black head coaches throughout Power Five, especially college football. And it seems very rare for a Black Power Five coach to be replaced by another Black Power Five coach. And looking at the opportunity that he has here at CU, and he did state that this was not a factor in him coming to Boulder, but CU has had as many, if not more, Black head coaches in the last 10 years than most SEC programs have had in their entire history. And given that he has the opportunity to step in for Carl Durrell, who struggled, especially with, very important things like recruiting and then even selecting the right coaching staff. Yeah. And he has the opportunity to come in and be that replacement for an existing Black head coach. And not only that, he has the opportunity to really throw egg on the face of a lot of naysayers and a lot of people who didn't believe in him. Right. There were open opportunities in the SEC and in the ACC this year, which would have geographically made a lot of sense for him. But he chose to come here, and I think that it represents an amazing, amazing opportunity, kind of like what Chase was saying, for him to, either uplift a program that, has some resources, right? And we see now that CU has resources from all of the display that Coach Prime's social media has put on our facilities, which, I think we were all at CU at some point when that was brought in the Champions Center and blown away, from the initial tours. So it was really cool to see that. So he's going to have more resources here than we had at Jackson State, but he has that opportunity to really elevate and not only show his coaching, his coaching ability, but his overall ability to raise an entire program's profile, maybe even an entire city's profile. So it's a really exciting opportunity for him. Obviously, as a CU fan, it's just incredibly exciting. This was one of the worst seasons I've had to experience. And I remember, and I was at most of the games during Embry's second year, where CU also went 1-11, but also had such amazing losses as losing on a last-second field goal to a 6-6 Sacramento State FCS team, and then immediately going on the road and being down 55-7 at halftime against Fresno State. So someone that's been through that and this past season, the level of excitement it's hard to even compare. And when Coach Prime, during his press conference, said, "All I want is to give you the opportunity to win," that it made me emotional, right? It brought tears to my eyes because, my goodness, someone with his gravitas and someone with his pedigree, right, both as a professional baseball player and as an NFL Hall of Famer, to come in and say, "I'm going to come in and give you this thing that you've wanted, for most of your life." It was amazing. So,
right. It's just a whole different level of gravitas with the CU fans, man. I remember seeing Brandon McCartney's video of his Wired, Fired, and Inspired video, and I was tearing up late at night. And my wife rarely sees me tear up, and it was Brandon McCartney and how fired up he was to get Coach Prime. But you were talking a little bit about the coaches. I just want to add this in to add some perspective, just to run down the CU coaches and the win history and just how big of a change this was. Starting at Bill McCartney, he had a win percentage of 62%. Then Rick Neuheisel, 70%. Gary Barnett, 55%. And then the demise of CU: Dan Hawkins, 32%; John Embry, 16%; McIntyre, 40%; Mel Tucker, 41%; Carl Durrell, 34%. And note that Mike McIntyre number is also inflated with the 2016 year.
Yeah.
So he has really been
Also
through the ringer. And I wanted to use this to kind of transition us. What did you guys think of the opening press conference from Deion? I don't know about you guys, but to me, it sounded like a little bit like Bill McCartney, and he's bringing us back to the golden days. What are you guys' thoughts on the opening press conference?
And Chase, take it away.
Yeah, I think Dion understands what the situation is. I think Dion understands that it's a fan base that is often thought of on a national stage as non-existent, which is never, I mean, we all know, and I'm sure the people that would listen to a podcast like this would know, CU has had the fan support and has the interest and passion to win. And so I think Dion, he's kind of a preacher almost by nature, right? Comes in and talks about, it's not necessarily, X's and O's all the time. And I do think, there's a lot of criticism that that's something he might struggle with at the FBS level. And that certainly remains to be seen, but he's a guy that sells you on ideas and ideals and where you want to see something happen. And so, like, obviously he's great for a press conference. But I also think that, those are the kind of things that, land you recruits. Like I think we're all confident he'll end up landing. So incredibly exciting press conference, I thought. I'm curious what your thoughts or your opinion was on it, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, I was really worried who our starting quarterback was going to be. So I was really happy that was clarified during the press conference. I'm not sure how legal that is. Is that a rule that?
Oh yeah, I remember Ryan Koenigsberg said in some video clip I saw, he's like, I was looking at the compliance team and they were all cringing when that went down.
Yeah, that's but it doesn't matter. We have Coach Prime. Yeah, I mean, like Chase said, nobody's talked about his coaching, like his football coaching at all, because it doesn't matter. Like, you can assign people to do the football coaching for you, and you just go out and recruit.
And I think that was a big. I was just gonna say, I think that's a big part of why he accepted the job as well, is that he has the budget. Wherever they found the budget, he certainly has the budget now to find those assistant coaches that will help as far as the X's and O's, stuff like that.
And boy, has he!
But yes,
he's found some doozies. My goodness, getting that Kent State offensive coordinator. The head
coach, nonetheless, not just the offensive coordinator, but to take a head coach. Yeah,
my goodness. First of all, it shows you that a hot shot, highly thought of head coach would want to give up his head coaching position to come to CU, a team that's coming off of a 1-11 season that's pretty inarguably been the worst Power 5 team over the last decade, aside from the Rice, right? That is entirely a testament to his magnetic persona and entirely a credit to his salesmanship, which he hadn't really even had the opportunity to do much, right? Because he's still going to coach Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl, and he's still devoted to those young men that he's been coaching for the last couple of years and wants to see them succeed both on and off the field. It is it's just incredible. And to Jake's original point, does he remind you of McCartney? So obviously I was very young, very, very young when McCartney retired from CU, but and you see it with Brandon too, right? You see that you see a lot of that same persona coming down in his and when Derek McCartney was at CU, you saw it there too, right? Just the passion and it is like being preached to in such a beautiful way, right? You feel very connected to what he's saying, and it just icing on the cake that this man is so accomplished. I don't know if you've seen some of his highlights playing baseball. So obviously I'm partial. I'm a baseball fan first. I'll always be a baseball fan first. And Deion Sanders tore up the Rockies. I think he hit over 350 against the Rockies. And on his highlight reel from when he was playing baseball, there are highlights of him playing at Mile High Stadium. So even before Coors Field, but Mile High Stadium. And even just with that, Coach Prime he considered himself to be just regular Deion on an MLB field. And that man was a horror on the base paths, absolute horror on the base paths. And he would have been the MVP of the 1992 World Series if the Braves had won. And that was by far his backup sport, right? This man also won multiple Super Bowls in the NFL and is an NFL Hall of Famer. You hear that person preaching to you, and you like sit up in your seat a little bit. Right. And during his basically his pep talk is what I'll think of it as, and rather than a threat. I thought it was more of a pep talk to his team. When he said no hats, I was like, I'm taking my hat off. He's going to know that I have my hat on, you know? It was just incredible. I do see a lot of potential parallels with Coach Mack, and hopefully he'll have a 30 for 30 about his time at CU that paints him in a positive light as well someday. It'd be amazing.
For sure.
And I think like another thing that should be considered with this hire, like I think, you know, everyone always says that every hire is the most important hire that a team is going to make. But as you kind of look around the shifting college football landscape, it seems like, at least in my opinion, this was a absolute could not miss hire. You know, the Pac-12 is borderline, you know, imploding. It looks like it's going to solidify for now, but I mean, who knows? And so this was one of those hires where CU either reaches for the stars and, you know, turns it around, or fades into irrelevance forever. And so in my mind, like, this was just such an important hire, and I didn't want to get my hopes up that it would be someone like Deion Sanders, but Deion Sanders is the kind of guy, and who knows, you know, if we're being honest, he's probably gone. If he's successful, and I obviously I hope he is, you know, it's likely that he's probably gone, you know, who knows, 3-4 years from now. But it's one of those things where if we can kind of get the program turning around the right direction, you know, I get a lot of, and this is gonna be my first hot take of this podcast, but I get a lot of flack for this, but I really do think, you know, as conferences look to expand, moving forward, you know, obviously I think the Big Ten, if they choose to expand further, will pick up Oregon and Washington, but this kind of hire, you know, a strong Colorado is the kind of school that might be a target for the Big Ten moving forward. You know, if we have a consistently successful football team, we're in a fast growing market. You know, we're basically the only kid in town, despite what the Fort Collins people would want you to believe. We're an AAU university. We have large enough enrollment to be considered a Big Ten school. So I don't know, you know, that's not realistic for a lot of reasons, whether or not we would make the TV deal worth it, stuff like that. But if they are looking to kind of round out a pod with UCLA and USC, you know, Colorado definitely was never going to be a pick right now. But if they end up waiting 6 to 8 years and something magical happens, like we all, I think right now think it might, you know, that could be the kind of thing that changes the course of not just the football program, but the university forever. And so, I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on a hire like this. But I think as far as swinging for the fences and shooting your shot, I think Rick George deserves a lot of credit for a spectacular hire that can really potentially be university changing.
Right. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. This could not have come at a more pivotal time, especially with the conference realignment. Like you were saying, George K., I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, the Pac-12 commissioner, came out and said that they halted negotiations for the TV deal until Deion Sanders was hired at Colorado. He makes an impact. Barstool Colorado tweeted out that the CU football Twitter account, or Instagram, sorry, had 58,000 followers before Deion was hired. It's now at 202,000 followers. That's the Deion effect. It is wild what is going on in Boulder. ESPN had CU all over it. Fox News posted our offensive coordinator, his hire. That is unheard of for CU. Unheard of. And everyone's talking about it. If you just go on YouTube and search Deion Sanders, Colorado, 247 Sports has a ton of videos on it. On3 Recruiting has a ton of videos on it. Rivals has a ton of videos on it. ESPN, ton of videos on it. Stephen A. Smith, Bomani Jones, everyone is talking about CU. Tom Brady went on and talked about CU and his son.
Aaron Andrews.
What was that, Trey?
I saw Aaron Andrews have a thing on, I think, talking to Carissa Thompson that CU reposted recently, talking about how she was a Gator for life, but that she was going to put on her Colorado stuff and for Coach Prime.
Right. The Kelsey brothers, too, I saw had a podcast, and they were talking about it. I was listening to something earlier this week, and it was one of the alums talking. Man, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Jeremy Bloom, and he was saying back in the era when CU was good, he saw CU gear in the Houston airport. Like thinking about that now, it's
Happen.
laughable. Like
It's gonna
that will
happen
never
now.
happen. And now with Deion Sanders, we are going to be a national brand. Like it's
I would
unreal.
argue we're there.
Yeah.
It's just mind boggling to me. I work with a lot of people from SEC country, and that's by nature of my job. We have kind of major job sites in the South, like in Alabama and Florida, and CU is the butt of their jokes because they know that I'm a diehard CU fan and a CU alum, and how many games I've been to and how much I care. And they usually send me stuff like I have a lot of Alabama coworkers, and they usually send me stuff like, "Oh my God, we lost our second game of the season. Now I feel like you. The rest of our season doesn't mean anything." I'm like, "Dang, 2 losses, and you're already talking about how your season doesn't mean anything." Whoa! But
Right.
Yeah.
all
Right.
those same coworkers like, "Whoa, I saw the news. Like, you guys got Coach Prime." You guys got Coach Prime, but I mean, it's always followed by like, oh, it's still going to be bad. But the thing is, they heard it. They heard the news.
Well,
That's
and I think this is a great example. Todd Salomon comes in as president, and I always thought I was kind of dubious about the whole arguments that it's the leadership like Phil DeStefano that was holding the football team back, and I was always like, like I think that's probably there's some merit to that, but I don't think that's the whole rationale behind it. And it's pretty clear at this point. Todd Salomon comes in and says we're committed to football. Having an alum comes in that was here during kind of the primetime eras, or I guess this would be the primetime era now. So the successful eras of CU football back in the '90s, and to understand the value that football can have for a university, I guarantee. You talked at the beginning about 200,000 followers on Instagram after having basically none, right? The effect that this has on 18-year-old kids, not just that are looking to play football at a D1 level, but also that are applying to schools, right? And like, this is kind of a cheesy example, but like I picked my law school, I picked Penn State because I wanted to have a Big Ten football team. I wanted a bigger brand football team. And frankly, if I'm being honest, I wanted a team that was maybe a bit more successful than what I had experienced at Colorado. And so kids make decisions partially off of that. And, you've seen it at Alabama where the applications have risen and the ranking has risen and the overall university is empowered by the success of the football team. I think you're going to see that in Boulder. And I can't wait to see what application statistics look like next year. And I can't wait to see what student involvement statistics look like next year. I can't wait to see what alumni donation statistics look like. This is one of those things where everyone's going to, I think there will be a lot of people that will look at the salary and go, oh my God, how can we possibly justify this? And the answer is, football, for better or for worse, is the university's brand for a lot of people. And so if this ends up working out, it's going to be one of the best investments Colorado has ever made. And I can't wait.
totally agree. Yeah. I guess before we move on to the next point, I'll also point out that the 2016 homecoming dinner. So I used to be part of the CU Young Alumni group as well. I wasn't able to keep up with it because of some of my other commitments, but we went to the homecoming dinner that year, and they said that was the one year that CU did well, right? The Rise year. They said that was by far the most attendance they'd ever seen at the homecoming dinner. So even if a lot of our alumni don't care about the football team, it is a massive branding thing, exactly like you said, Chase. It is a massive source of branding for the university. And I don't know the statistics myself as far as how it does positively impact academics, but what I do know is that my coworkers, I have a lot of coworkers that went to Alabama. Like I said, a lot of them, we're in the rocket business, right? You need some really, really bright people in order to be in that business. And almost all of them were from out of state. They weren't from Alabama, and Alabama did not have a reputed mechanical engineering or aerospace engineering program about 15 to 20 years ago. And it's one of those cause and effect things. Like, do you know if that's a true correlation? I can't speak on that, but at the same time, it does look awfully suspicious.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's the Flutie effect.
yeah,
It's more people are going to apply, and your acceptance rate is naturally going to go down when you have a good football program. You also saw with college basketball when they made runs, March Madness runs, these small schools, these Davidsons with Steph Curry, Florida Gulf Coast a few years ago, their admissions skyrocketed. Like I'm looking up CU's acceptance rate, and it's 84% right now. And I remember they were trying to do this Be Boulder campaign, and they were trying to be the Harvard of the West. And I think they were going about it all wrong. They needed to increase the CU brand presence. And this is a step in that. A ton of kids are going to apply, and we're only going to take the best of the best. It's just great for the university.
And then final point I'll make on this is if you look at the resources and the research that's been done at CU just in the STEM field, right? Think about this. The University of Colorado is responsible for discovering a new form of matter, right? So the 2001 Nobel Prize that was awarded to Eric Cornell and Carl Wyman, that was for discovering a new form of matter, the Bose-Einstein condensate. That's the type of research that happens at CU. So you have that, you have the setting, you have the location being in such a major tech hub near a city where, despite the fact that there are a lot of challenges in the economy right now, I've noticed myself like things seem to be going relatively well here given all the circumstances. You put all of that together and you have something really special here when you talk about getting the word out there about the school and the university and how great it really is, just by opening this window. Not to say that that's actually going to happen, but it certainly seems like it could be a big deal. And this could raise the profile of CU across the board in a really beneficial way. And I'm really excited for us.
All right. We coming, baby. All right. I want to spend some time on that exact point, on Deion's talk to the team, his whole we coming speech. I'm going to quote the quote that's been blowing up around the national media. He told the team, "We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me, and it's Louis." What was your guys' thoughts on that whole team meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were really upset about it. I mean, I saw it online. A lot of people said, I think at the end of the day, you went 1-11 last season, and anyone that thinks that this is not happening, anyone that thinks that Lincoln Riley didn't do this exact thing when he went into USC's meetings, the difference is that for better or for worse, Deion Sanders gets everything on video. And so like on one hand, that's kind of why his brand is so big and why his pull is what it is. But you're going to catch some flack for things like that. That being said, I don't necessarily think, I see a lot of these transfers get announced, and I can't tell you that it's one of those things that I think is going to make CU worse. I think I wish these kids the best of luck. They had a really tough season. But if we're being honest, that's the kind of thing that a new head coach needs to do. I think it's kind of the ugly side of the business, but you need to walk in and say, we're establishing a new standard, and I have kids that are 5 stars, at Jackson State, and you were not competitive. And so like, if you want to earn a spot, and that's how I saw it. I think it was if you want to earn a spot to be here, you're going to have to earn it. But like, just because you're already here does not mean that you're going to be able to stay, sort of thing. And so I think it's one of those things that people are way overreacting to. A lot of people, for whatever reason, are, everyone seemed to be very pro Deion Sanders. And now you're starting to see people that are kind of anti Deion Sanders online, not in the CU community, but just generally. And so I don't know if it's jealousy or what it is, but I think it's completely valid what he said. I don't think he said anything that was wrong. And, that's just my opinion.
And to clarify, he didn't tell these kids to hit the portal. He said, you need to do your thing. Like, if you need to hit the portal because it'll open spots for kids that want it and kids that want to work. I think it was perfect to bring the kids in that want to work. Some of those guys on the team want to win. Some of the guys on the team have the talent to win. But there's some guys dragging their feet and not working hard, and they don't have the talent. And it's just a huge culture shock from the Carl Durrell era. Carl Durrell seemed like a good guy, but I don't think he was a great motivator. And it was just a huge 180. One quote that really stood out to me is when he said, "We're not here to compete, but we're here to win." If you look on one of the facility videos, I think it was the one that he got into Boulder in the evening when he was going out on the field, on the garage door that goes to the field, it says something along the lines of "Do your job and compete." CU's been competing for the last 20 years. CU hasn't been winning. I think Deion Sanders, that's going to be the first thing he's gonna repaint. We're not competing anymore. We're winning. Competing isn't fun. Winning's fun. So that was just one thing I noticed. Shreyas, do you have anything from that meeting?
Yeah. So I guess the most natural thing for me to do is apply the standard that Deion set for that team to myself, right? So for me, the times in my life where I feel like I've needed the most direction and needed the most guidance were the times in my life where I was struggling with something, right? Where I was struggling. CU was lucky to be 1-11 this year. They were 15-point underdogs against Cal. And you guys know how cathartic and amazing that win against Cal felt, right? It felt amazing. And those same SEC fans that I've been mentioning this whole time, or SEC grads, they turned around and they were clowning us for it, right? But it really did feel good. It really, really did feel good. So applying this inward to myself, like there's two schools of thought that I don't think are mutually inclusive. I think you can have both of these things together. They're mutually exclusive concepts. One is you appreciate the moment, right? You appreciate the moment and you allow yourself to have joy. And I thought that Mike Sanford did an unbelievable job of making these kids enjoy their time and appreciate the moment more. And I will always be thankful to him for that. However, at the same token, you always put maximum effort, right? No matter what, you always apply maximum effort. And if you need to get pushed into doing that, which is how it's worked out for me, I've always needed to get pushed into that type of thing, then you have to apply maximum effort, right? Just because something good happened after a lot of bad, it doesn't give you an excuse to get happy and, basically feel like you're content with the way things are and allow you to be lazy about everything else. And my takeaway from Coach Prime's meeting was kind of the kick in the pants that, a lot of the guys, maybe they already have it. Maybe they have been working hard. In which case, like if they have been working hard, they will live up to Coach Prime's standard and his new coaching staff standard and be a part of that 85-man roster. That is what's going to happen. And what I heard from him was a challenge more than it was an excoriation of some players that have been through some tough times. They've been through so many different coaches and they were put in a really bad position by their people of leadership. And to some, it does look like they're being blamed for it, but I see it as a challenge. And I know that from my perspective, if I had a leader that I was on the team for, and I was coming off a struggle, like my program's struggling, we're having lots of issues getting things done at work, I would understand and fully appreciate that challenge. And I think that was what was issued. So I think that those two things are separate. I think you can have joy and make the most out of bad moments. And at the same time, you can get that well-needed kick in the butt. And I appreciate Coach Prime for saying that. Yeah, did he have to film it? I don't know. That's not my place to say. That we know it's part of his brand. So that side of it, I don't know about that. But the fact that it's out there, it does look bad and shameful to some. But I personally, I was okay with it because I know that I would be okay with it if it happened to me.
Right, for sure. And you briefly brought up Mike Sanford, and I just want to give a shout out to him because he's done a really good job as the interim head coach. I was a little hesitant when they hired him just because he didn't have a great resume he was from Minnesota, right? Did I get that
Minnesota
right?
OC, yeah.
So I wasn't really confident from an X's and O's standpoint, but man, did he seem like he really cared about these players. And just in the interviews, he seemed passionate about CU. So kudos to him. I hope he gets a good job after CU. But just wanted to give him a shout out.
Agreed. I think the real ones know being put in that position is very tough. And what he did for those kids, he made those kids have fun. And that finding joy in the dark times, that was his whole theme, right? Joy. And man, it was a joy to watch those guys compete, even though they struggled. Even in that Utah game, like they were still out there putting the effort forth. Nico Reed got that pick in the third quarter. Frank Phillip caught his first touchdown, in the fourth quarter to make it 63-21. But I was happy for them because they've been through a tough season. There wasn't a lot of Power 5 talent on that team, and they deserved to, find their passion for the game again. And so, yeah, big shout out. I'll always remember the second half of the season in that Cal win, even if Prime has a lot of success, and the real ones will too.
And hopefully we can move on from moral victories moving forward.
Couldn't agree more.
Right. All right, so now I kind of want to shift this into the Louis piece that Deion's going to be bringing. I think he said he has about 10 guys that he's got lined up to come into the program. I have pulled up Jackson State's recruiting class from 2021 just to read off a couple guys. Quadarius Davis, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these right, but just bear with me. Quadarius Davis, 4-star, 93 rating on 247. Katron Evans, 4-star, 92 rating. Shadura Sanders, 91 rating, 4-star. DeJohn Warren, 4-star, 90 rating. Trevante Rucker, 4-star, 89 rating. Baron Hobson, 3-star, 85 rating. And those are wide receiver, defensive lineman, quarterback, corner, wide receiver. He's bringing in some studs. And also to read off his 2022 class, give me 1 second to pull it up here. But the big name that we're all aware of and we're trying to monitor is Travis Hunter, the number 1 recruit in the nation. Could be coming to Boulder. We'll see hopefully in a week where his head's at. But Travis Hunter, 5-star corner, 99 rating on 247. Kevin Coleman, wide receiver, 4-star, 97 rating. Tavarian Beasley, corner, 3-star rating. So Deion's got some dogs that can definitely compete at the Pac-12 level. And I'm really excited to see both where we're going to be in the transfer portal from both a Jackson State perspective and then also for the transfer portal at large, but then also for the high school recruiting ranks. But I'm going to open up to you guys. What are your thoughts on the recruiting pipeline CU now has?
Yeah, I think maybe the most exciting thing that CU has going for it, in my opinion, is that, if people haven't watched Sean Lewis, our new offensive coordinator, his offenses at Kent State, obviously he was the head coach, but what made him kind of notorious was the fact that he was the mastermind behind the offense. His offenses are fast. They kill you with speed. And, he's done a lot with a little at the FCS level where maybe his linemen were not as big as what you're going to get at the FBS level, or at least hopefully under our recruiting. And so I think, to tie that back to recruiting, what's really exciting is, the wide receivers that are expected to come from the Jackson State commitment list are fast. They're going to beat you with speed. They're going to beat you with size. Maybe not necessarily at the FBS level. They're not going to dominate quite as much, but we're not talking, the normal FCS recruiters that you would have. And we're talking guys that could start at almost any FBS program that were committed to Jackson State kind of to move forward with Deion's vision. I think the really exciting recruit that just, obviously the commitment happened today on the day that we're recording is Dylan Edwards coming in at running back, transferred out of, was committed to Notre Dame and is now coming to Colorado. I had the chance to watch his film just before recording this today. And what really impresses me, he's fast. He's insanely fast, but he's also a patient runner. And so he's not the kind of guy that is necessarily going to, run straight at the, I think we've seen this for years. And I think Fontenot's done this maybe a little bit more than a running back should, but kind of panicking and just hitting the hole before it's actually developed. And so, I think, Dylan Edwards has great hands. We're going to have a running back there that's going to have, playmaking ability at any position where they slot him. There's even some highlight reels from his high school days where he's playing wide receiver. Those are the kinds of guys that they're bringing. And I think it's important to remember that this is going to be such a fresh offense compared to what Mike Sanford was running that, CU needs to be looking at guys that are fast, and that's what they had at Jackson State. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Obviously, on the defensive side, I think we can expect to have some of the best corners in the game. I can't imagine being a high school corner and not wanting to play for Deion. But I think people are going to sleep on our offense a little bit. I think the Sean Lewis hire was an absolute home run hire. I still can't believe that we landed that hire. He probably won't stick around for long because he's been, he was a candidate for our head coaching job. And so, the defensive recruits are going to be really exciting. People should pay attention to the offense as well.
Yeah. The exciting thing about this new offense, if you're a skill position player that looks to come in, is it looks to be the opportunity that you need to show your skills and your speed that could translate to the next level. It doesn't feel as gimmicky as the old school air raid, right? That, Texas Tech was running back in the day. But you know what? That Texas Tech offense did ultimately produce one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league right now, Patrick Mahomes, right? Even after Mike Leach left, a lot of those concepts remained. And they struggled. Texas Tech struggled while they had Patrick Mahomes, but it was a dynamic offense that was incredible to watch. Cliff Kingsbury got an NFL head coaching job out of it, right? And so if you're a skill position player, wide receiver and running back in particular, and then even quarterback, obviously not in the short term because there is a nefarious side to having a coach's son, as CU fans are well aware at quarterback as far as playing time and things of that nature. But if you're a skilled position player, you look at that offense that's being run, the pace that it's being run, and think to yourself, this is my opportunity to showcase myself on the grand stage. And I also imagine that this opportunity of knowing that Sean Lewis, even though he's taking a demotion in order to come to Boulder, it represents an opportunity for him to showcase his offense with potential NFL talent because he knows that Coach Prime can attract that type of talent. And I don't know if you guys watch much of Tennessee Vols this year. I didn't watch a ton of them, but the Tennessee Vols did run concepts that look somewhat similar to what Sean Lewis was running at Kent State. And that offense is going to produce quite a number of NFL players. The name of their stud wide receiver is not coming to me off the top of my head. He was kind of a snub from the Heisman candidate list, but my goodness, like some of the catches that he had against Alabama and some of these other games this year, this, and now we potentially might have something like that where you can make yourself attractive offensively because of that scheme. And I'm excited if Dylan Edwards, that potentially could be a get playing time as a freshman, unless there are transfers that are coming in, which at this point I wouldn't doubt. And it's exciting. It is really exciting.
It is so exciting. Another guy I forgot to mention, and I definitely should not have forgot to mention this guy, but Winston Watkins Jr., commit for the 2025 class, 5-star stud. CU has the top class in 2025. Let's just stop the count now. National championship. Here we come, baby. So I've noticed Deion's really going after the playmakers, and I don't think he spent a ton of time going after guys in the trenches. I think mainly because the portal, it's a little bit thinner at those positions, but that's one area that I think they need to emphasize in recruiting. DMVR interviewed Rob J today or yesterday, I can't remember, but he was the guy who worked closely with Deion and had that infamous interview with him asking if he could ride back on the same flight for the Chiefs game. And Rob J was talking a little bit about Shedeur Sanders' game and how he's a very accurate quarterback, but the only thing that was holding him back is he held onto the ball a little bit too long. I just want to make sure CU brings in the talent on the offensive line to protect Shedeur Sanders. And I'm sure Deion's on top of it because he's going to want to bring in guys. And what a recruiting pitch is that? I trust you to protect my son. I trust you to protect my son. You're a stud. Come in to see you. Let's make history. What a pitch is that? Casey, do you have something to add?
Well, and I was just going to say, I think, I was encouraged to see Deion. I don't know if you saw this, but Deion tweeted a few days ago that, they were really looking for people for the trenches, right? Because, Travis Hunter's a cornerback coming in, right? He's a stud, a pretty much guaranteed stud if he ends up committing to Colorado. And so I'm not worried about the skills positions, but I mean, to your point, we're going to need to have, I think that it's a tougher sell for Deion Sanders. Not every offensive lineman in the country, looked up to Deion Sanders as the greatest in their arena. And so I think that's somewhere we'll struggle. The good news is I think, and part of the reason Sean Lewis is such a great hire at OC is that, at Kent State, they've never had the dominating offensive line that like Alabama has or something like that. And so he's done less with more in that offensive scheme. And that's part of what being so fast at wide receiver and running back can do for you. But I mean, obviously the goal and the hope is that we find some great guys, especially at the offensive line. My guess and my gut feeling is that that's going to be somewhere we're going to struggle, at least at the beginning to kind of convince people to come in. And I hope I'm wrong, but I do think that that's something that we're probably going to see cause some challenges for our teams.
And it really historically has, at least in recent history, it seems like the offensive line has been a turnstile.
Oh yeah.
Even in the rise year when you look at the way that CU operated in the red zone, it was Cepho Lufau draw. Almost every single play when we were in the red zone in 2016, Cepho Lufau draw or give it to Philip Lindsay, who's going to somehow, some way, find his way as the Tasmanian Devil into the end zone. And it's been a struggle because in the longer term history, CU has put out, in fact, even during this bad run, there have been plenty of NFL talented caliber offensive linemen. In fact, the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL was David Bakhtiari, right? Who is a CU grad. And Nate Solder had a lengthy career as an offensive tackle. So when you look at that opportunity, the bar couldn't be lower right now. So it's just mind-boggling. The offense, I know I've been only talking about the offense, not even the defense, and the defense was atrocious this year as well. But the bar is so low, and it's going to be mind-boggling to see even a slight increase of play in that arena. And I'm sure Cepho, Steven Montez, no one comes more to mind than Steven Montez. I felt like his whole trajectory and his growth was impeded by some of the poor offensive line play that he had during his time. I could be wrong on that, but that's certainly the way it seems to me, that he came in with light tower talent with that incredible game against Oregon. So looking at that, the idea of actually bringing in competent linemen, this is not to slight anyone, right? Not to slight any individuals, but it's been a struggle and it's been painful to watch.
And I think, Sean Lewis is bringing Bill O'Boyle, as his offensive line coach. He's coming with him from Kent State. That's probably, in my opinion, one of our weakest hires on this new coaching staff. He's never coached at an FBS team, but he's an Iowa guy. He's all about having corn-fed guys up front in the O-line trenches and about bullying people. And so, I'm excited to see how he can do. I don't know how good of a recruiter he is. He's been in the game for a long time, but I think Sean Lewis is that kind of young hotshot coach. Maybe it'll be a good dynamic between having a little bit of a more seasoned, older O-line coach, but not a hire I'm super excited about. And definitely somewhere, like I said, that I could see us struggling, but I hope they prove us wrong.
Chase, he's an Iowa guy. I think they have an in-home visit with the Iowa recruit that's a 5-star. I'm blanking on his name, but he's committed to Iowa. I think he's from Iowa. And I think it might be him that's visiting him. So I'd love to hear that. Caden Proctor, that's his name.
Yeah, he's from Western, he played at Western Illinois, grew up in Iowa. So he's kind of from the Midwest. Honestly, that adds some nice diversity as far as recruiting goes. Obviously, Sean Lewis is going to have the MAC kind of recruiting ground as well. And so I'm not saying these are necessarily, I'm just saying it wasn't the most exciting hire I saw. It makes sense. It's a guy he's comfortable with, a guy that he's run the offense with before. But that's somewhere where I really think fans should be kind of prepared for, we're probably not going to have as much talent there as we might in some of the other skills positions. That being said, we'll probably have infinitely more talent than we've had for the last 15, 20 years. So that remains to be seen.
I like the fact that these linemen that we'd be bringing in are blocking to a specific scheme. And so they're going to have to be trained in a specific way. But I actually really like that because then you have all of your focus on being able to execute on a specific plan rather than just saying, all right, all you're going to do is block the guy in front of you. And there's really no other plan other than just block the guy in front of you. I love the fact that it's for a scheme. I think it was Ryan Koenigsberg broke down the offense, and one of the key things that we'll have to see is actually mobile offensive linemen, right? So who can potentially move downfield, obviously not while the QB still has the ball, but move downfield, get some interesting pull blocking in different directions. So that side of it too is going to be really fascinating to see. And that might be a point in favor of Sean Lewis bringing his offensive line coach with him because it is a unique scheme. So we'll see how it turns out. It's just something different, right? Man, I think it's better.
Man. Dude, I got in a fight with an Alabama fan the other day on Twitter, and it's like, what is life, man? We're fighting with Alabama fans.
They're fighting with us now?
Yeah, they're threatened by CU now. The entire SEC, watch out, because we're coming. But yeah, I mean, you saw today, in Folsom Field, they brought in some sports cars. I think it was a Jaguar and a GT40 there for some recruits, and Deion's going to do something different. He is going to be way different than Carl Durrell. He's going to bring that swagger back. He's going to be able to relate to these players. He's going to be like, look, I played in the NFL. I know what it's like to win. Come to Boulder and be a part of it. Come be a part of something special.
Well, and I think we all know, right? Like CU and Boulder has everything to succeed. And I know, we're preaching to the choir with this kind of audience, but we have the facilities. There's no doubt we have the facilities. We have a beautiful campus. The academics are solid. The only thing that we haven't had to get recruits to come to Boulder is, the promise of success as far as, athletics go. And so like, shout out to Rick George for that, the Champion Center and all that kind of, those are things that enable coaches like Deion Sanders to succeed. And so, the swagger being there is exciting. But, CU has what it takes to succeed at the Division I FBS level. And, having someone that can actually sell Colorado rather than Colorado having to sell the coach, it seems like, under Durrell, it almost felt like Boulder had to sell itself. That's an exciting change.
Yeah, one of the things that really bothered me during the coaching search is all these national pundits getting on and saying, really, Deion Sanders is considering CU? Like, they don't have facilities. They're a losing program. It's like, wake up. Have you been to Boulder? Have you seen the new facilities? Like, the foundation is set for CU to be a powerhouse again. And we finally have the coach that'll bring in the hype. His video team that's run by his son, I can't remember their YouTube account name. It's like Wealth Media or something like that. But those videos are showing off the facilities. And I think his video with the team got almost 4 million views. Like, these high school kids are going to see that and they're going to be like, wow, I didn't realize Boulder had these gorgeous mountains. I didn't realize they had these facilities. I didn't realize all these things about CU and its football program. And now that we're in the national spotlight, kids are going to start coming.
One thing that happened this year, and this is maybe a little bit irrelevant from our discussions about recruiting specifically, but I was blown away with the student sections and the fan support this year. Absolutely blown away. I could not believe it. My impression with CU football and even CU fans, and maybe even Colorado sports fans in general, is that are very, very fair weather. And they'll show up if the times are good, and when the times aren't good, there's a billion other things to do. And this year, when I saw the sellout crowds, or the near sellout crowds, even against TCU, against Cal, oh my goodness, I was absolutely shocked. And I know that some of those parents' weekend or whatever, but my goodness, we have some very dedicated fans. And my impression before is that wasn't the case. And now, when you consider that there's already a lot of comments on the CU beating Cal video, and most of it was positive, like, I cannot believe this many people show up to watch an 0-5 at that time, 0-5 team that had lost every game by at least 18. And a lot of that was from garbage time. It's amazing.
Do you remember the student section when we were in school?
What student section?
Exactly. One section was halfway full, probably at the end of the first quarter. It is unbelievable how those students have showed up and showed out for the games this year for a 1-11 team. I remember going back in the day when we tried to do a card stunt. It was a CU, and we barely squeezed in people in half a section. It was only half a section at the time. We barely got enough students to squeeze in, and we're barely able to pull it off. I think it was around halftime too. Then look at the student section now. It was full every single game. So, man, I don't know what happened. I don't know what flipped the switch there, but
it was you, Jake.
It wasn't me. No.
you guys laid the foundation for that.
No,
I honestly, it's hard to know, because I haven't been inside the school and the program to know what the kids have been doing lately. But it's gotten to the point now, and I was shocked. Like, I saw some comments that were like, oh, there's nothing else to do in Boulder. It's like, whoa, are you serious? Like, we've come to that level of having that good of fan support where people are Boulder of all places. Just imagine that. Someone telling you there's nothing to do in Boulder. Wow. Okay. Like, that's when you know you got good fan support.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Sam. He's our CU student, boots on the ground. He hasn't been quiet this whole podcast. He had to leave a little earlier, so he'll be back with us. But yeah, complete culture shift since we were there. Okay, so I want to throw back to you. Did you want to add some additional thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment before we move on about Rick George. I think everyone would agree gave a heinously borderline fraudulent contract to Carl Durrell, guaranteeing the entire salary, all that kind of stuff. It was really refreshing to see in this new Deion Sanders deal. Obviously, we're paying him an exorbitant amount of money, but to see that, one, if he leaves within a year, it's a $15 million buyout. I think maybe Mel Tucker might have finally convinced us that something like that was necessary, but to have a 15, 10, and then 5 for the next 3 years, as far as, Deion would owe the university if he left. And I believe that's been confirmed. I think Brian Howell tweeted that. Is like so encouraging to see that, if a school ends up deciding that they want to, try to rob the cradle again, like we had with Mel Tucker, they're going to have to really pay. And so I think it's pretty much, I would say not feasible for him to leave. Certainly not in the first year, but maybe the second year. But, you see people being willing to pay $100 million to fire Jimbo Fisher. So maybe not, but it is nice to actually have some consistency and to see that, Rick George was able to negotiate a really, in my opinion, CU friendly contract, other than the amount of salary that we're paying. But frankly, that was just going to be what it was going to be to begin with. So, that's kind of a positive change that we've seen as well. And I don't know if that's because of the new leadership or if that was because of Rick George, but I'm really glad that that's something that we kind of figured out.
Right. To piggyback off that, I think the thing that was frustrating for me with the KD contract, the Carl Durrell contract, is he had zero leverage, and we did not set up a buyout for him. So it was a good change to see that for Deion. I think with your comment with how long he'll be at CU, I think we can take hopefully some confidence that he'll be with the Buffs until Shador graduates. I don't think Shador will want to move to another school. So I'm really hoping and banking on that at least, but we'll see.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think we're going to try to get a little bit of a bit every week or whenever we decide to do these podcasts where we'll do a draft of certain C related things. Today, we'll be doing a draft of the best CU restaurants or Boulder related restaurants. 5-round draft. It's not a snake draft. And we actually did pre-select the order of the draft. So if Commissioner Jake would like to announce that, we'll go ahead and start the draft.
Am I the first pick? Who's the first pick? I don't remember.
We'll go ahead and let you. I'm confident that you're the last pick, so we'll let Shreyas start. I'll draft second, and Jake can go third.
But yeah, I mean, we're doing this because we saw Deion's reviews. He went to the Buff. He went to the Village and gave reviews. So we want to have a draft of our favorite restaurants. We'll see where they land on Deion's scale. I think he's been a little bit nice in his ratings. I think he gave an A to the first rate restaurant and an A- to the second. I don't remember, but it'll be fun to see him promote Boulder, him promote small businesses, and really make an impact in the community. But with that, is Threas up with the first round?
I guess so. All right. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but you'll know now. Like I'm a lifelong vegetarian. So that definitely is a major influence for me in my selection process here. But I'll tell you this. For me, if you look at the totality of the experiences and the size of the menu and the quality of the vegetarian options, half-ass subs is always at the top of my list.
Great pick.
And since I have the opportunity to take it, I think that's a home run hire. I think that's a home run pick. That's a 5-star recruit. I'm going with half-ass subs, baby. Let's go.
Biggest sandwich menu in the country, according to
them. They used to have a CUNET sub as well, so they sponsored the student section. Big fans of CU. Great pick.
I need a prime sub now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead. Frankly, I'm stoked that this fell to me. Even at the second pick, I'm going to take Bova's on the Hill. I know that Bova's has since moved, but I want the nostalgia and the food poisoning that you would always look forward to at 3 a.m. in the morning. So go ahead and give me Bova's.
Good pick. Good solid pick right there.
Bova's.
All right, with my third pick, I'm going to go with a little bit of a playmaker. Very notorious pick here. He had a big announcement on ESPN where he's headed. And I'm going to go with the Sink, a President Obama favorite, a new Boulder classic. I'm going to lock it in with the Sink.
Great pick. Had to go in the first round.
think that was a reach. I think that the sink is more of a reputation thing. It's like a recruit that goes to Nebraska, right? It gets the Nebraska recruiting boom. So
Right,
everyone
right.
I don't know, the quality it just never hit for me like that. I know it's an icon, right? It's an icon just like Tom Osborne's Nebraska teams in the 90s, right?
I
And
think the Sync's going to be bringing a lawsuit for that. I can't believe you said that.
it is an icon. It's an icon. I just think it was a reach. You're talking about the first round here,
All
Hey,
right,
hey,
Strays, what's your
I'm
second
bringing
pick?
only dogs to my team, man. Only blue chip dogs.
only blue chippers. Let's see. So as far as again, like I have to scale this in terms of my go-tos, right? And where I go. And this stinks because it stinks to pick this because it's a chain. But my goodness, like God, there's something about illegal Pete's. When I'm out there, it's just such a go-to. Like go to the game. I can't tell you how many CU basketball games I've been to where I just make the walk up to the hill afterwards, go to Illegal Pete's. Illegal Pete's in its current location versus where it used to be before. They got like a nice little bar set up in there. They got the potatoes to put in your burrito, right? I think that's a big draw. But I get that it's a chain. We also have Illegal Pete's in Fort Collins and Denver and in South Denver in the tech center where I'm at. But I gotta go with Illegal Pete's. Like for a vegetarian, that's the one.
That's
All
a
right,
great pick
well,
right there. He was on my board. We were scouting him. We had him high on my board, so love that pick.
yeah. I'm really happy with the value I'm getting here in my second pick. I think this is one that anyone that knows anything about Boulder probably would think that this is a steal to get after the first round. I think Jake knows exactly what I'm going to
I
pick.
know where you're going here. I know where you're
It
going.
has to be the dark horse. Give me the dark horse.
Ooh, okay.
It's not only, in my opinion, the best bar in Boulder, other than maybe the Downer. But the food is excellent. The value and the pricing is just unmatched. I think that's great value in the second round. So yeah, I got to take the dark horse.
Good pick. Good pick. All right, does that leave it to me? Man, you put me in a tough spot here. Dark Horse was high on my list. We really liked them. We liked the talent they brought. They were out of our recruiting pipeline though, out there in Willville. We don't have a lot of coaches that are scouting that area of the country. So, we weren't really sure of their talent, but I think that I like that pick. Like that pick.
People are sleeping on the Willville teams. That's all I'm saying.
Right, right, right. Next up, this is where I thought you were going to go. So I'm glad to see them drop to me. Very happy about this. Deion will definitely be making a stop there. I got to stop saying Deion. Coach Prime Time is definitely going to pull up to this restaurant, going to give him raving reviews. This is one of the most notorious restaurants in Boulder. I've helped the team with NIL deals. Love this place. I'm going to go with Pasta J's.
I thought about taking Pasta J's there, but I really did think I could get in the third round.
I
wasn't sure what the vegetarian options at Pasta J's were, so
right,
I thought I could sneak it through.
I would just like to tell the listeners here, because they didn't see the reactions of you two just falling in their chairs as they realized they missed this awesome talent in Pasta J's. So I think we got a good one.
I think it's a controversial one. People that like Pasta J's really like Pasta J's, but there's a lot of people out there that are really just not Pasta J's people. So, I thought I might be able to sneak away with it. Would have been great value in the third round, but I think that's a great, really solid second pick. All right, Shreyas, for our third and final round, go ahead and take your third choice.
All right. So I want to take it to the other side here, right? And I'm sure, I have a feeling this may not be on any of you guys' radar, but I'll keep it with the burrito theme since I love going there. But Cafe Mexicali.
Ooh, that was on my list
that was on my board. That was on my board.
Cafe Mexicali is another one of those post basketball game icons for me. I love going there. They have like a patio up top that has just an amazing, perfect flat iron view. You get a giant meal. You can get smothered burritos out there, and so that was a bit of a difficult choice because with only 3 picks here, there's some still good ones left on the board, and I won't throw any of those out there since I know you guys still have to pick. But I think that one's mine. It's a really quality spot. I'm a big fan.
All right. Well, with my last pick, I'm kind of stuck between 2 here. Frankly, I think either of these could have been a great pick. I'm going to go for what the people would pick, maybe not my pick, because I think I'm getting a lot of value. This is actually what I thought Jake was going to pick with his second round pick. So I'm thrilled to be grabbing him here. In fact, I was so confident that I wrote it on our draft pick list in Jake's spot because that's what I thought he was taking. Sometimes it's tried and true. It may not be the best, but it's the best for me. Go ahead and give me Cosmos Pizza.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
I knew it. That was that was one of the other ones. I was like,
Rest in peace,
I mean,
Cosmos on the Hill, right?
Third round pick. I mean, the value is insane there.
Value's insane. The nostalgia.
It would the nostalgia. The place where you would spend 3 a.m. on a Saturday, Friday, Thursday. You have to take it.
I will say it's a really good 3 a.m. slice, especially living in New York. We know good pizza out here. I mean, Cosmos, it's not too bad. It's great drunk food. It's right there. Love that pick.
Big slices too. A lot of value.
Yeah, that's a scrappy pick right there. He's going to be a hard worker.
Yeah.
All right, does that bring it to me, man? I got a lot of names on my board.
And there's a lot of close misses, right? Like you've got a lot of really great options on the board.
With my last pick, I am going to do a selection in honor of Deion Primetime Sanders. Now, you thought my first pick, you thought the sink was a little showy. I'm going to give you a little bit more primetime than that. I'm going to go with the prime steak option. I'm going to go with the Flagstaff House. I'm going to get a little fancy on you guys. I know it's out of the budget, but we're here and we're going big with the third round pick. You got to take risks in the third round. So I'm going to go with the Flagstaff House.
All right, so I'll do a quick synopsis of everyone's teams. We've got Shreyas with Half Fast, Illegal Pete's, and Cafe Mexicali. My team, I got Bova's, the Dark Horse, and Cosmos Pizza, and then Jake rounded it out, taking the Sink, Pasta J's, and Flagstaff House. I'll be honest, Jake, considering you drafted third, I really like your draft. I think you got a lot of value there. We'll definitely put this out on Twitter, see what people think. Even if no one ever listens to our podcast, at least they'll see our rankings on Twitter and can discuss
them. They could nuke us for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Chase. I did a lot of mock drafts. I had a lot of research, had a good team, had a lot of good scouts out there. So I think we did well. We'll see how we end up.
There's a lot of good free agents too. There's still a lot of good free agents out there. If you ever need to
for sure. We're definitely gonna have to hit the portal. So we might do a part 2 of hitting the portal, picking our favorite restaurants. All right, with that, we'll close this out. Thanks for listening. If whoever's still listening at this point, we appreciate you guys. The goal is to do this podcast hopefully weekly during the football season. And hopefully as we started out fairly often, we hope to do it every couple weeks or so, maybe weekly, because there's going to be news left and right with Coach Prime. So thanks for listening. Go Buffs. It's prime time, baby. We're coming.
Go Buffs, baby.